Moikka kaikille, it's Willow here and welcome to my video. Today I'm going to share some tips with you on how to prepare yourself for a move to a new country. I hope you like it. So first of all, I would like to say that even though I personally have moved and lived around the world a little bit, I'm not going to be just telling this from my own experience. I actually reached out to a lot of my friends and family who have lived around the world. The reason why I reached out to my family and friends about this topic was because even though I personally have lived in a couple of countries in my life, I think that my take would be really narrow and not maybe bring as much idea and detail into the topic. So I wanted to be able to have a viewpoint from all different ages and genders and in different countries where you can live to and how long and how little time you've been there. So that's why I send a bunch of messages to my friends and family asking on how did they prepare their move. And I also asked them, now that you're looking back on that time when you were preparing yourself to the move, would you've maybe done something differently, or was there something that you maybe overstressed too much? And just to give you a better idea of what kind of processes I reached out and talked to a lot of my friends. So first of all, thank you guys for helping me. This video is definitely not just my take on it. It's credit to you guys that you helped me out and you brought out a lot of things that even I was oh man, right, that's true, that's what I should have done, or yeah, I did do that as well, and now I completely had forgotten that I did these things. So yeah, it was definitely also a really fulfilling moment for me as well, because it was kind of nice to share and know that other people have gone the same process as well, and it has been new and kind of nerve-wracking for all of us maybe, so it was kind of nice. But I have, based on all of the messages and the conversations I've had with my friends, kind of separated the topics into 3 categories. So we will have, first we will talk about before you have chosen the country, what are things that you should maybe think through or go through in your head and your mind before doing this step, or before deciding where to go. And then we have the side of when you know where you're going, what is good to actually prepare pre-hand and look into stuff that you might not even think about. And then the third one is there anything else in between middle ground stuff that you just is good to keep in mind and think about. But before we go any further, I want to address that I understand that at the time, with the pandemic and stuff like this, moving is not maybe relevant at the moment, but maybe this video can be something that if you are planning on moving, you can start the process or pre-hand, and you can mentally start preparing for it, even though it might be in the near possible future. We all have been affected, so I understand that nobody's moving right at this moment, so I understand that, but maybe this will be some good intake anyway. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is what to think about before choosing the country. Now this is a scenario when you actually have a wide spectrum of choosing. Maybe if you're going to go somewhere to study and you know the country then this part is not useful for you. But if you have couple of options of countries where you could go or what you could do, and you don't really know what to choose, these are good things to go through while deciding. And the first thing is language skills. Language is a huge thing that can give you a lot of benefits. Of course, like if you're good with languages and you can learn it while you are there, that's going to be also like a good thing. Like, start doing classes, or if you pick up the language, it's good for you. But if you already know like the language that they're going to mainly speak in the country, that's going to be a huge benefit. Not just for socializing, but also in the job markets. It's going to be a lot more likely for you to get a job when you know the language in the country, or if you can just like use your language in the work field overall. So it's a huge benefit thing. Also, knowing the language can like help you out in just everyday life, and just like overall like normal life things, like when you're booking a restaurant reservation, or you need to contact a doctor, you don't understand the answering machine, for example. It's quite nice to be able to like know that in those situations you don't have to stress about the language. So it's a good thing to scan through. But if you're willing to take the risk anyway and go to somewhere where you don't know the language, then of course go ahead. But it's good to think about on this spectrum of like, I'm making this big change, what can make it easier so it won't leave a traumatic experience like in long term, I guess. And then of course, I think this might also go without saying, the work possibilities. If you're not going to go to the country to study and you're gonna start living like a normal life in the working field, it's really important to think about the country as from that perspective. Go on maybe some work searching at like websites. There's some apps that you can use to help you out to see the work environment and what kind of options they are. Just knowing that how easy or how much possibility there is for you to get a job in the country is good to know when you have chosen the country, because then you can prepare yourself of knowing like, okay, it's possible for me to get an income and I can like financially support myself. So the third thing is the culture. And of course we can think about the culture as food wise, and if it's Western or Eastern culture, and that is understandable to like consider as well. But also I think it's really important to understand that even if you're moving on a short distance, for example, when I moved from Finland to Denmark, it's still a big change in your life. You're still taking yourself from something familiar and placing yourself into a new, complete environment. And there can be quite a lot of changes that you don't even think about in like similar cultures. So it's good to look into it. Maybe watch some TV shows from the country, or like talk to people who are from that country to just like find out like, if it's something that you would feel comfortable being in. Because like, of course you don't want to go into a new culture and expect that they're gonna bow around you because it's different. Or like you feel that your own culture from back home is so much better than this one, like, So yeah, even just like a small distant move can be a big thing for you mentally. So if you're just moving because of moving to a new country, think where you are. Are you ready for a big culture change? Or for your first move to a new country, is it just easier to go somewhere where you can practice like the new experience or something like that? The fourth thing to think about is weather. And this might be also a pretty obvious one, but it's not just like moving to a sunny place and going to the nice sunny beaches that you want for the rest of your life or something like that. It is also good to understand that, for example, if you move from Florida to Norway, outside from just weather, it's gonna be also, the light is gonna change. And like in here in North, we have really long days in the summer and really dark days in the winter. And this is like a stereotype everybody might know, but it can affect you mentally quite a lot. I personally remember when I went to Australia and the darkness hit me a completely different way, even though we have darkness in Finland during the winter, of course. But it was during the June, July months when it would get really dark there, like from 5 o'clock, and it was pitch black. And it was so different for me to like even think about that, because in Finland, June, July is like mainly sun all the time. And then even if it is dark during the winter, the snow will also give a different kind of feeling. And then of course it starts way much earlier and it's a whole different mindset. So it's good to think about these kind of things that, you know, mainly to prepare yourself for the changes. And then the last thing about before you have chosen the country is if you are going to stay there for longer, or you personally have already kids and family, then it is good to look into the social structure and the schooling system that you would be possibly providing to your kids. And this is not my personal experience, of course, because I don't have any kids, but like it is something that a lot of my friends said that it was the first thing that they started looking when they wanted to move out in a new country when having kids. Like, of course they come first. You want to provide them like the best education or the best environment that you can, even if you are changing countries. So it's good to look into it, see what kind of schooling system they have and how can you provide and what you can provide for them. And also health overall, health social areas are good to look into as well, because if you are bringing a family or you are going to raise a family and you're used to for a certain type of healthcare or social care, going without researching and stuff like that, it can be a big change. So it is good to maybe look into it. Now that's all of the tips that I have for before choosing the country. Next, we're gonna go through things that when you know the country, what are good things to research before moving and before like going to the country itself. And the most important thing is immigration, visas, and residence, of course. This might be obvious, but it's good to say, like, of course, like even if you're moving in Europe, there is actually quite a lot of things that you need to do. Like when you get to Denmark, you have to go through the residence program and you have to have an address and all this paperwork before you can even get residence permit. So it's good to scan through the protocol, maybe talk to people who you know have done it before, just to get the idea of what the country expects you to do when moving. Even if it's like no visa process, it can take quite a long time with all the system waiting times, and then you have to apply there and then you have to apply there and all that stuff. So yeah, looking into the residence and the legal stuff of moving into the country itself is very important and goes without saying, of course, but you can be really surprised how long it takes. So that's why I think it's really important to mention it on this video, so you take your time with it. So one of the things that you could also look into is the transportation system how people move in Copenhagen. They bike everywhere. If you go to a bigger place, is it like worth of you getting a car? So stuff like that is really good to look into. Just like searching public transport possibilities and kind of like getting in the mindset of the culture of like where you should maybe want to live, what's going to be closer, what's going to be further. And you know, one of the biggest things that came up when I was talking with my friends and family was apartments and housing system. And it can be pretty tough. And a lot of the time, like at least what I heard and had the conversations was that people were like, okay, I'll just get an Airbnb and move to the country and then something will come up. But the reality at the moment is that if you're moving to a bigger city, most likely there's going to be a shortage on the apartments. And if you don't look into it early enough, it can be quite surprising how expensive some of the apartments will be. And a lot of the times there's these situations where when you're an international person and you come into a country, you don't know how much you should be paying for something like one bedroom apartment or so. So people take advantage of that and put really high prices on the apartments. And then, for example, in Denmark, the deposit is really, really high. And a lot of the time when my friends came here, they end up realizing they have to pay like multiple months of rent. And knowing this from before could be really helpful, because then you know how to prepare yourself. You maybe look for an apartment from before even moving to the country, and you have enough savings to do it, like to pay the deposit and everything. So that's a really, really important thing to look into pre-hand. And even though, yes, you can most likely find an apartment by just going to the country and staying a month in an Airbnb or something like that, it is just really important to think about it, because the last thing you want to do is to be in a country without a place, apartment of like a home, and then be going through all the legal stuff, the immigration process, the residence permits and everything, or just and like applying for bank accounts and all of this stuff that you need to do at the start. So looking into the housing system is really important. Wherever you go, just like make sure that you have a stable place to like settle in. If it's with staying with family and friends who live in the country, or like renting a place on an Airbnb for like multiple months, or just like getting an apartment from pre-hand, whatever it is, I really highly recommend in looking into the apartments and the housing system in the country before you move. It's really good to look into like how can you get a bank account. Some banks don't actually let you get a bank account before you have the residence permit, but a lot of the times you need it way much before you have actually physically gotten the residence. So look into banks that accept you as their client, so you won't have a problem of like not getting paid or like not getting a job because you don't have a bank account or whatever. It's just going to ease out the process a lot. And then of course making sure that when you move to the country you have your passports on date and your driver's license on date, so you don't have to worry about like in the first year for looking a way to get them renewed or something like that. And also with the driver's license, it is really important to make sure that if you need a car, are you allowed to drive with your driver's license in that country? Because some places don't accept and your driver's license, and they want you to do like a retest when you come to the country. So it's good to look pre-hand for that, because a lot of the times that also costs some money. So it's good thing to think about. And then lastly, of these maybe boring stuff of like preparing yourself for the move, is finances. So of course it's important to prepare that you have enough savings when you move, because there's gonna be random like expenses that you can't plan. When you move, there's gonna be like surprise things that you didn't even think about that you have to pay for or you need at the start of the move. So like being comfortable when you move with like savings, it's a good thing to have. And of course, seeing like the average pay for the area and the career that you would be doing in the country is good. But also something that I, for example, didn't even think about first, but then my friend pointed out, was the taxing on the payments. So look into the usual tax rates of the country, so then you can actually get a better idea of like what you will be earning. So then you won't like just go base your income on the salary that you might be getting, because it can hit you hard. For example, here in the Nordics, the taxes are quite high. So, you know, even if you get a really nice pay, you might end up paying like almost 40% taxes on it. And, you know, you might not think about it first moment when you're moving. So it's a good point to look in, not too deeply, but just like understand like, okay, this is how much most likely I will have to spend for taxes. So like maybe don't get this apartment that would most likely take all of my income. The main area of things that you should do some research or like look into when you know the country where you're going, and that is social connections. And this came up with every single one who I talked to about the topic. Everyone was like, you know, there's Facebook groups that you can join, where you can find more information from people who are also maybe from your country and have gone through the process, who can help out. You can create a community even before going in there, kind of like get into the mindset of like what is the normal thing and what is expected, and just like feel that you have some kind of support system there. Of course, it's amazing if you happen to have friends or family living in the country. I had my boyfriend when I moved here, so it was like a big thing that I knew that I was going to have somebody that I can process the move with, and know that when I'm gonna face new cultural things or moments, I won't have to be alone. So it's really good to look into that. And good resources are Facebook groups, like I said. In Denmark, there's something like Finnish People in Copenhagen that is really popular, and a lot of countries have similar kind of things going on Facebook. Then also the church system is really helpful. In Finland, we have something called Merimieskirkko, which is a church that is a lot like located in other countries, and it's like Finnish based, and they have a lot of connections to Finland. They can bring in products, like if you are craving for some like Finnish food, you can get that stuff from there. They have contacts, and also it's gonna be a place where like you can find people from your own culture, which is like sometimes nice to have. But also it's really important not to get too caught up on your own home culture, because then it will just make you crave back to your own home country. So like also searching groups from the actual country, like finding finding friend groups or like communities from the actual country is really nice. I personally, like for example for me, like pole dance is one of the places where I get to know a lot of new people who are from different cultures and from Denmark, and it's a place where I can feel like I'm doing something I really enjoy, but I am building a social connection around me, because and then I don't feel so alone. So it's a really important thing to maybe look into, start searching out like what can I do in this country when I move there, so I won't end up feeling like I'm alone or I don't have any connections. Because even though you have your friends and family back home, they're not going to be in the country, and it's not healthy for you to like just only keep talking to them from the home country. And now finally we are at the last part of the 3 categories that I talked earlier, and this is everything else. This is stuff that most likely you can't really research, and it's more about understanding why you're doing this. Because of course, bottom line might be that you want to try something new and you want to go and experience, and that's a good reason to do it. But when you are moving to a new country, there is going to be a lot of stuff that you can't prepare yourself to. So first of all, like when you leave, understand why you're leaving. Like, why are you moving to this country? If you are trying to escape the problems in your life in your home country by moving to a new country, like the reality is that most likely they're gonna follow. Maybe not those specific problems, but if you're not satisfied with your life in another country, or you have issues and problems at your home country, moving most of the time doesn't actually fix them. And also it might be really harmful because like you haven't processed those feelings that you had and the issues that you had back in your home country, and then you're adding this big stress on yourself of going to a new culture, having to figure out how to get things done, and you just kind of like loading onto your mental health. So my grandfather actually was saying that when you move, you should be spiritually balanced, and that goes to every aspect. Like, don't fix your problems with moving. You can fix your situation, like if you know that economically or like opportunity wise, when you move you're gonna have a better life in the new country. That's good and that's great, but like life is gonna be life in the new country as well. Boring everyday routines are gonna be the same when the honeymoon period is gonna be over. So before you decide to move, go through like, why are you doing it? Is it to fix a problem, or you want to change your boring life? Like, the thing is that if everyday routines are boring at your home country, they're going to be boring in the new country as well, because you know, work's going to start becoming normal, and then you do have to do the laundries, and you do have to still do the dishes, and you're gonna feel lonely every once in a while when you're in the country. So fixing your problems by moving is not a good, I wouldn't recommend that. And on the lighter note on that topic, I do believe that if you are in a good place mentally and spiritually, the move and the change can be amazing. Like when you accept that it's gonna be sometimes hard and I'm gonna have to learn while I go, but you accept that that's gonna happen, and you understand that it's not gonna be always these big adventures and like Instagram posts and everything. You're gonna have a really good experience. So going open-minded and balanced to the move is like, it's the best that you can do. Having courage to go into to just move is like a big thing and a cool thing. So you should like grab onto that, and sometimes it might mean that you have to go into an awkward situation and like try to bond with people that you don't know yet, and you have to go outside from your comfort zone, but it will end up giving you so much new experiences and so many new people that you didn't even think that you could ever have as in your life. So I highly do recommend of doing it like if you are in a good and balanced place, because it will give you a lot of aspect and richness in your life. Last thing that I want to say is that most likely you're not going to be able to figure it out all before the move. So have courage and be gentle to yourself, and understand that even though you didn't look it up, or you didn't research it, or you didn't prepare yourself for that, it's okay. Take everything slowly, take your time. Luckily, the processes or the things that you have to go through are not going to need you to act like this and be on the tip of your toes all the time. So go into the experience understanding that you're not going to be an expert, even though you have done a lot of research. It's going to be a big change. It's gonna sometimes be really stressful, but it's also going to be a great experience, and you're gonna come out from it like that much stronger and wiser, and most likely have like a lot of good experience afterwards and stuff to share. Because like I said at the start of this video, I was having these amazing conversations with my friends of like, yeah, I know I did that thing, like the moving process was a really pain in the ass, or yeah, I didn't even think about that, I need to do this and this and this. And you know, we've all gone through it, and if you are actually going to do it and you are going to step into moving into a new country, that's a big cool thing already. So be proud of yourself, and give yourself the understanding of like, give yourself some slack. So don't make it a big stressful thing, because the process itself is gonna make it a big stressful thing. And also, don't be afraid of failing. If you at some point need to go back home, that's okay. Like, we're not all meant to be moving to a new country and living abroad for the rest of our lives. I personally don't think that I will end up living abroad for the rest of my life. Well, we don't know. Never say never, right? But it's okay to go back, and it's okay to take time. It's okay to process. And then next time you'll be more ready for it. So it's a big step, but I know you can do it. So yeah, that is all of the tips and the things that me and my friends and family came up with and thought about while talking about this topic, and I hope it was helpful for you. I would like you to maybe bring out your own side. Maybe if I missed out something, or you disagree on something, like, you know, share your thoughts on the comment section. That would be really nice. And I hope you were able to take something out of this video, and it was useful for you. And if you do like this kind of content, please leave a like for the video and subscribe. I will be doing this kind of series in the future, so I'm gonna have travel series, and then I'm gonna have vlogs, and then other stuff maybe on the side. But I'm gonna go through the process of moving to a new country in more videos. Next up, I'm gonna talk about the first year, the honeymoon period, and so on. So look for that coming up next time, maybe, or in the future. And yeah, once again, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.